All right, let's go out to the guest line and bring in a guy that knows more. He's forgotten more about college baseball than I will ever know. John Whittle from thebigspur.com, 24/7 Sports, has been covering college baseball, South Carolina baseball recruiting for years. Figured I'd bring him in because we're not too far away from opening day for Clemson and South Carolina both. John, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great, but I don't want you to sell yourself short. You know a good bit of baseball there yourself. I've seen you interact with our members on the Big Spur message board, so don't sell yourself short on your South Carolina baseball knowledge and your baseball knowledge in general.
I know that you need 3 strikes for an out, and you walk. No, I'm just kidding. I love baseball. It's like my favorite sport to watch. Like in the spring, it's awesome. Something kind of religious about it. But Clemson and South Carolina both had pretty good resurgent years last year. We'll start with Clemson. The first year of the Monty Lee era went pretty well. I thought getting a national seed, winning the ACC tournament. Both were big things. The regional, well, we know Oklahoma State was a pretty tough out, the team that got hot at the right time. Looking forward to this year, of course, all eyes are going to be on Seth Beer, who had a tremendous freshman season. But kind of break down your take on the Tigers here early and Monty Lee's second season in Clemson.
Yeah, I tell you, Monty Lee, the job he did last year is remarkable to me, and same with pitching coach Andrew C. Like I didn't know that Clemson was definitely going to be an NCAA tournament team at the beginning of the year, let alone end up as a national seed. So the job Monty did, getting those kids to buy in, and the job that Andrew C., their pitching coach, did, kind of developing that staff and working that group to get productive outs game in and game out with limited numbers, with the limited numbers they had was just very impressive to me. But, this year they've added a little bit to the pitching staff. Some of those guys are a little bit older. They added a guy named Tyler Jackson who has now been at 4 colleges in his time. He started at South Carolina, then went to UNC Lancaster after a year, and then ended up at USC Upstate, pitched there for a couple of seasons, and graduate transfer now at Clemson. So, he's got a lot of college innings under his belt, and he's going to work his way most likely into the weekend rotation. If not, at worst, he'll be a midweek starter. But they've got a few more arms to deal with on the pitching staff this year. And, they return a lot of their offense from a year ago. And you noted Seth Beer, but, Chase Pender, center fielder, is a kid that I love, who I think is going to really have a big year this season for Clemson. Obviously, he had a really good year last year, but I think he's gonna take that even to the next level this coming season.
How does the ACC sort of stack up with regards to Clemson and the rest of the teams in the league? I mean, is there a team in the league, and I've probably looked at it and just don't remember, but is there a Virginia or Miami or an FSU? Who's the big dog in the league that everybody's got to catch?
Clemson's going to be in that mix, but Miami is there. Louisville has lost a lot last season, but they're going to be there. They're going to be kind of a constant in the ACC. Florida State as well. So, I think those are the 3 teams that you kind of circle. Virginia lost a little bit. They weren't as good this past year as they have been. I think Miami and Florida State and Louisville are going to be the 3 to kind of keep an eye on, as well as Clemson. I think that those are kind of the top 4 teams right now.
All right, let's shift gears. South Carolina baseball expectations are high. I think every ranking that I've seen in the preseason has them top 5. They return a lot of people off a team that got to the Super Regionals last year and ran into that pesky Oklahoma State Cowboys team that eliminated Clemson too. Big year for Chad Holbrook, in my opinion. This is a year a lot of people are pointing to that they could get back to Omaha for the first time since 2012. Kind of your take on the Gamecocks and how do they sort of, I don't know, do it, get back? I mean, what has to happen for that to take place?
Well, the thing that you look at with this team that's kind of the biggest question mark is, how they're going to perform in the middle infield both from an offensive and defensive standpoint. I think that's just the biggest question, and that's where you have to be good to be a really good team. You need to have a shortstop and a second baseman who are reliable defensively. You've got to be good in the middle of the infield defensively. You got the middle of the field in general, but South Carolina's got 2-3 really good catchers behind the plate. And that's an area I think Clemson's going to struggle a little bit, but South Carolina's really good behind the plate. South Carolina's really good defensively in center field. But in the fall, Madison Stokes, who kind of ran away with the shortstop position, played really well defensively. I don't think he had more than 1 or 2 errors over the course of the 18 scrimmages. So performed really solidly defensively, but that's a little bit new for him. He struggled throughout his first 2 seasons, kind of throwing the ball across the diamond, very inconsistent from that standpoint. So, if he brings his play from the fall over to the spring, then that's going to be very, very strong for the Gamecocks. And LT Tolbert's kind of the front runner for the second base job. And, he's got a shortstop background, and, he probably made a few too many errors over the course of the fall. But, those 2 guys have certainly a potential to be good defensively.
Pitching staff looks to be pretty stellar heading in, and the Gamecocks get player back on that pitching staff. Kind of what do you think about Jerry Meyer's group on the mound this year?
This pitching staff for South Carolina should rival any that it's ever had. I'm not all that old, and I'm not that great of a historian, so I know that there have been a lot of great pitching staffs before I started covering this program. But when you look at Clark Schmidt and Will Crow and Tyler Johnson and Adam Hill and Reed Scott and Josh Reagan, I mean, that's 6, 7 really quality pitchers right there, and some of those guys are going to sign their name to a contract, making a lot of bonus money here in about 6 months. So, I feel like this is as good a pitching staff as South Carolina's had, and I think those guys are going to perform at a high level. These aren't guys who have potential. These are guys who have done it. I mean, Tyler Johnson's an All-American. Will Crow's been drafted a few times now. Clark Schmidt, we saw what he did last year. So, assuming Will Crow is healthy, and his performance in the summer and the fall showed that he was, I think that this pitching staff is really what's going to carry this team and is going to be kind of the differentiating factor on an NCAA postseason team versus a College World Series team.
All right, John Whittle from thebigspur.com. Man, thanks for giving us a college baseball update. I'm sure we'll talk to you again between now and the openers.
Yeah, sounds great, JC. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, no problem.